So what makes a baseball poem a baseball poem? Robbie says, I think anything that touches, even tangentially, on the game of baseball or the culture surrounding it should be considered a baseball poem. I think of baseball as a kind of shared experience that a poem can employ as a kind of portal into a deeper understanding of some aspect of the human experience. The poem might be about love, or failure, or disappointment, or resilience, and baseball is the vehicle that transports the reader to that place. What do you guys think?
I very much agree with them. I think that the cool thing about poetry is that you're working with layers, you're working with imagery, but you're also working with different types of meaning. And you can view any kind of imagery, any kind of metaphor, any kind of concept with as much meaning as you can, or that you can fit into the poem or that your reader can pick up. And so, for me, anything that touches on baseball functions as a baseball poem.
So I actually kind of have struggle with the concept of a baseball poem as much as I would any other subject as a poem. But if we were to treat, and I agree with this definition actually, but if we were to treat baseball as a subject, then as a poet, the job would be to take the context that baseball brings, the lore, the relationship that the poet has to that, and to take those things and bring them to an emotional life, more than say, we're not here to do the box scores. We're here to talk about the emotion that this sport brings to us, whether that be good or bad, and actually I'll be probably illustrating that later. But yeah, that's the simplest thinking for me, boil down to.
So it's a great question, and in an odd way, my response is a little salty. I guess my question, to respond to that question, is, does it really matter? You know, my college friends and I have had a debate for over 20 years, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Because it takes place on Christmas. Some friends say yes, some friends say no. And I'll argue back that, well, Rent is then obviously a Christmas show because it begins and ends on Christmas Eve and follows a year. So, Mrs. Robinson is very much not a baseball song, but it is because Where Have You Gone, Joe DiMaggio. So, both the genre of poetry and the incredible game of baseball have just infinite possibilities and so much imagery, so much emotion, that, it should be something that is just so open to so many people and is putting things, not that this question was asking us to put things into boxes, but, is it a baseball poem? Why not? And what difference does it make?
Before you respond, I would say if you go to the American Poetry Foundation and you Google the words baseball poems, you'll see a curated list of poems that the subject matter is baseball. But if you just use their search feature with the word baseball, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more, where baseball is an allusion or a metaphor or something within the context of a larger poem that is so valuable in that piece. And I would submit that could put it in the genre of a baseball poem.
I love salty answers, by the way. In reference to what you're talking about, Marianne Moore wrote the great Baseball and Writing.
My favorite poem.
Right? The first stanza is often excerpted which is great, but she goes on, and it gets deeper and deeper. And, she's just one of the great poets in addition to her tricorn hat, which I don't know why that hasn't gone on.
I don't.
Because maybe it's
a
Marianne Moore.
250. Maybe we should all put them on.
At some point. But, so following all the comments, I guess for me, it involves, first as a poet, it involves a working method of working in my notebooks every morning, drawing in my notebooks, thinking about poetry, having read poetry the night before, having read poetry every day. You're communicating both with fellow poets and all the work that you've read in your life. So all the work that you've read in your life, including poems that might involve the context of baseball, you're informing and trying to understand your experience based on your appreciation and love of poetry and poets. And it's an interaction because, let's be honest, we read each other. All my other sports writing, my sports books, my trade paperbacks, I guarantee those people are not reading my poetry for the most part. So we depend on each other. Excuse me?
Sure they are.
Salty to the end. But so for me as a writer, it emerges because I love baseball. As an editor, I have the context of interaction between the editor-in-chief and a poet, and myself as the poetry editor. As a teacher, I try to encourage the love of poetry, and if any of us talk about the poetry we love, it's going to be energetic, and I probably get the highest marks for teaching because I just can't wait to share it, and I can't wait for the reaction, and I can't wait to get those students on the courses they're already have started. So, baseball poetry defined by context, but it could also be anywhere.
Right.
So, yeah.